Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. So this morning we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto number 6, and chapter number 4, the Hangsaguya prayers, and we're reading verses number 49 and 50, I understand. Atha me. Okay, that's the second of the two. This is verse 50. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh-tarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshava Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So again, we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, the Hangsaguya prayers, and this is verse number 50 on the board, together in translation with verse 49. So together we can chant verse 50. Atha me bhihito devas. Atha me bhihito devas. Tapo tapyata dāruṇam tapo tapyata dāruṇam, nava viśva-sṛjo yuṣmān, nava viśva-sṛjo yuṣmān, yenādāv asṛjad vibhuḥ, yenādāv asṛjad vibhuḥ. Others?
Atha vihito devas, tapo tapyata dāruṇam, nava viśva-sṛjo yuṣmān, yenādāv asṛjad vibhuḥ.
Ladies? The first verse number 49, which is translated together, is as follows. Sava yadā mahā-devo mama vīrya-upabṛṁhitaḥ mene khilam ivātmānam udyataḥ svarga-karmaṇi. Sa, that Lord Brahmā, vai, indeed, yadā, when, mahā-devaḥ, the chief of all the demigods, mama, my, vīrya-upabṛṁhitaḥ, being increased by the potency, mene, thought, khilam, incapable, iva, as if, ivātmānam, himself, udyataḥ, attempting, svarga-karmaṇi, in the creation of the universal affairs, atha, at that time, me, by me, bhihito, advised, deva, that Lord Brahmā, tapo, austerity, tapyata, performed, dāruṇam, extremely difficult, nava, 9, viśva-sṛjaḥ, important personalities to create the universe, yuṣmān, all of you, yenādāv, by whom, yadā, in the beginning, asṛjad, created, vibhuḥ, the great. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, When the chief Lord of the universe, Lord Brahmā, or Swayambhu, having been inspired by my energy, was attempting to create, he thought himself incapable. Therefore, I gave him advice. And in accordance with my instructions, he underwent extremely difficult austerities. Because of these austerities, the great Lord Brahmā was able to create 9 personalities, including you, to help him in the functions of creation. This, of course, is Lord Vishnu speaking, and he is speaking to Daksha, yes. Purport. Nothing is possible without tapasya. That's an interesting statement, isn't it? Nothing is possible without tapasya. Lord Brahmā, however, was empowered to create this entire universe because of his austerities. The more we engage in austerities, the more we become powerful by the grace of the Lord. Therefore, Rishabdeva advised his sons, tapo divyam putraka yena sattvang shudyet. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. In our material existence, we are impure, and therefore we cannot do anything wonderful. But if we purify our existence by tapasya, we can do wonderful things by the grace of the Lord. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada's purports often conclude, therefore. Therefore, tapasya is very important, as stressed in this verse. Again, the first sentence of Prabhupada's purport, nothing is possible without tapasya. On the other hand, Srila Prabhupada famously spoke about Fool's Dictionary. What did he say? Impossible, in quotation marks, is a word in a fool's dictionary. Well, but then again, possible is a word in a wise person's dictionary, by implication, right? But how is anything possible? That is explained by Srila Prabhupada. Anything is possible by tapasya. Nothing is possible without tapasya. And more specifically, toward the end of his purport, he speaks about the possibility to do something wonderful by tapasya, by the grace of the Lord. So, what do you think? Would you like to do something wonderful for Krishna? Yes? No? Yes, we would like to do something wonderful for Krishna. Who has done already something wonderful for Krishna? Huh? Srila Prabhupada did something very wonderful for Krishna. Yes. Daksha also wants to do something wonderful for Krishna. And now he is, we could say, getting a second chance. We've encountered Daksha in the 4th canto, and we know that there was some problem. He had a little problem with his anger, and we all know what happens when our anger gets out of hand. Do you have experience yourself? Sometime you got angry, and afterwards you thought, oh, this was a mistake. Yes? No? You never get angry. And then we regret. We have some feeling of remorse. In the case of Daksha, he lost his head, literally and figuratively. We say in English, he lost his head. If somebody gets, very disturbed, and does something crazy, then we say, oh, he lost his head. Well, Daksha lost his head literally. So now he's getting a second chance. He's getting a second chance to do something wonderful for the Lord, specifically to be a Prajapati. No easy task. He is one of 9 Prajapatis, it's mentioned here. And he understands it's necessary to qualify himself, and part of the qualification has been to offer prayers, wonderful prayers to the Lord. And now the Lord has appeared, and the Lord is responding, he's reciprocating with him, and he's telling about a history. He's saying, your father, Lord Brahmā, he underwent austerity, and therefore he's qualified himself in order to, specifically in order to create you. This may be some lesson also for householders in general. There must be some austerity if there's going to be nice progeny. So the broader topic here, I would suggest, is creation. The very first word of the Srimad-Bhagavatam after the invocation is Janma, birth. I was discussing yesterday in the VIHE, one devotee scholar has written a book called Tales for the Dying, the death narratives of the Bhagavata Purana. It's a study of the Bhagavatam focusing on the literary character of the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is all about death, you could say. Who wants to read a book about death? Material life means we don't want to think about death, so let's not read such a book. But the Bhagavatam is also a book about birth. And there are different sorts of birth, and one sort of birth is birth of the world, creation. And we get a lot of description about the process of creation, especially in the early cantos of the Bhagavatam. And in these descriptions, we come to see that the process of creation is not easy. Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar Lalita Devi Vishaka Devi ki jai. It's not easy to create a universe. Balaram, not Balaram, Lord Brahma finds this out, but at the same time he expresses some confidence. I want to read a verse from Canto 2. This is, I believe it's chapter 6, verse number 34. Lord Brahma is speaking to Narada, and he says, I'll read the Sanskrit. Nabharati menga mrishopalakshate navaikva chinme manaso mrishagati name hrishikani patantya satpate yanme hritotkantyavatādrito hari. O Narada, because I, Brahma is speaking, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, with great zeal, outkantyavata drita. Whatever I say has never proven to have been false, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. So in this verse, Lord Brahma is expressing confidence, great confidence. But what is his confidence based on? It is based on having taken shelter of the Lord outkantyavata with great zeal. You know this word zeal? To be zealous, to have zeal. It's great enthusiasm, great determination, great resolve, great, yes, all of the above. This is in contrast to what is mentioned in verse number 49, mene khilam. In the beginning, Lord Brahma, it's also described in this chapter 6 of Canto 2. In the beginning, when Lord Brahma finds himself on this lotus, this cosmic lotus, he looks around and he understands that he has to perform sacrifice, yajna. But there's a problem. What's the problem? How do you perform sacrifice when you don't have any ingredients for sacrifice? He didn't have any ingredients, no firewood, no ghee, because there are no cows to make milk, produce milk, to produce ghee. Nothing, there's nothing there, there's just ocean. And he has to perform sacrifice. So what does he do? He draws from the Lord, from Purusha, his different limbs. And it's not exactly obvious from the verses there, but what he's actually doing is he's taking parts of the Lord and making them into the items of sacrifice. And this explains why that chapter, Srila Prabhupada titled it Purusha Sukta Confirmed. Because in the Purusha Sukta hymn of the Rig Veda, it's describing Purusha, the original Purusha, the original person, sacrificing himself. His different limbs of his body are becoming the different aspects of the universe. It's a little bit strange, but that's the idea. And this is the primordial sacrifice, and out of that primordial sacrifice is coming the process of sacrifice, the possibility for human beings to do what human beings are supposed to do. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to perform sacrifice, and in this way practice austerity. So it's interesting that we read how in the beginning Lord Brahmā is khilam. He's not confident. He feels incapable. He says, I don't know how to do this. And then he hears from the Lord, tapo, perform austerity. I've often wondered about that. Here you are, imagine you are Lord Brahmā. You're sitting on a lotus flower in the middle of an ocean, and there's nothing else there. What are you going to do other than tapasya? There's really nothing else to do, it seems to me. But in any case, it was confirmed by the Lord. Now you perform tapasya. Okay, now tapasya. And so he does. And in this way, he becomes qualified. It is explained earlier in the second canto, chapter 6, that he was able to, that Lord Brahmā had everything in his grasp, just as in Prabhupada's translation, one holds a walnut in the hand. The Sanskrit is amalaka, to hold an amalaka fruit. Prabhupada, because he knew in the West, nobody knows what that is, so he said, like a walnut. Walnut is a nut similar size. So Lord Brahmā, then he was able to grasp and able to perform his service. Similarly, Daksha is now going to be empowered by the Lord. And this is the lesson that we can take inspiration from. Not only is he being empowered to do something for the Lord, but he's empowered, as Prabhupada says in the purport, to do something wonderful. So, Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, the famous verse, Api chet sudara charo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadureva samantavya. Sadureva mantavya. Even someone does something bad, not just bad, but really bad. Sudurachara. Api chet, even if one does bhajate mam ananyabhak, if that person is devoted to me, then we should consider that person sadhu. The word sadhu has a kind of double sense. The broad sense is good. When somebody does something nice, you can exclaim, sadhu, sadhu, means well done. And of course, a person who is a sadhu is a person who lives a good life. So Krishna says, sadhureva samantavya. He is to be regarded. This is the gerundive form, to think. Mantavya, to be considered. A sadhu only, eva. And good, Prabhupada is extending that. Not just good, but wonderful. A person has the potential to do something wonderful. One British writer of the 19th century, Oscar Wilde, a somewhat controversial person in his lifetime, he quipped once, he said, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. So everyone has an opportunity to be saintly. And that's really the spirit of the Srimad-Bhagavatam as a whole. To give everyone, kirata hunandra pulinda pulkasha abhira yavana kashadaya, etc. Everyone can be illuminated by the Lord. Everyone can be empowered by the Lord. Everyone can do something wonderful for the Lord. So I think it's a nice meditation. We can reflect, what could I do for the Lord, for Guru, for Krishna, that would be wonderful? And we know that to do so has some prerequisite. It's not just going to happen because we think it's a good idea. It will happen because we are willing to undertake whatever it takes to do it. That's really, as I understand, what austerity is about. It's about being ready to, as Prabhupada would say, do the needful. Whatever it takes. This is what needs to be done. All right, whatever it takes, that's what we'll do. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Today is observance of Lochandas Thakur's disappearance. So I want to say a few words about Lochandas Thakur, or more specifically, I'd like to read something from translation of his famous book, which we celebrate, the Chaitanya Mangala. As you may know, the work of Vrindavan Das Thakur was originally known as Chaitanya Mangala, but it came to be known as Chaitanya Bhagavata because also there was the Chaitanya Mangala of Lochandas. And so, to avoid confusion, we have Lochandas's Chaitanya Mangala and Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavata. So there are a few parts of Chaitanya Mangala. There are some descriptions of pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu which are found neither in Chaitanya Bhagavata nor in Chaitanya Charitamrita nor in Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka. And there's one passage which I find very wonderful and very touching. It's a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Vishnu Priya just before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. So I thought we might read from this. Seeing Mahaprabhu's eagerness to take sannyas, the moon-faced Vishnu Priya Devi said, with her voice choked in emotion, "Tell me, O Prananath, Lord of my life, and I shall take your order upon my head. Will you take sannyas? I have heard this rumor being circulated among the people in general. Hearing this, my heart is broken. If it is true, I shall enter into fire. You are the treasure of my life. Your beautiful form is always ever fresh and newly youthful. Will you give up everything and go away? If I am deprived of your association, I might as well give up my life by drinking poison." Notice that she says in the beginning of this, her question, that she will accept whatever is Mahaprabhu's decision. And that indeed will be the case at the end of this passage. Hearing the pitiful words of lamentation spoken by Vishnu-priya Devi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled a little and spoke as follows. Listen, O you who are dear as life itself. Please don't be in any anxiety. There is no need to worry at all. What I am about to say is for your own benefit. Please hear me attentively with your whole mind. Whatever you see in this world is all false. The only truth is Bhagavan and the Vaishnavas. Without that, whatever you see is illusion. Know this for a fact. Sons, wives, husbands, ladies, fathers, mothers, and everything else, all these relationships are illusory. They are temporary and transitional. In one lifetime, we have one set of sons, wives, husbands, mothers, and fathers. And in our next life, this changes. Other than the lotus feet of Krishna, we have no real family. Everything else that we see as our family is an illusion or maya. What we see as man and woman is unreal. And he goes on elaborating on this point. Now, Mahaprabhu has not said, yes, my dear, I am leaving, I am taking sannyas. He never actually says that. He just says it in so many words. Look, this relationship, we are so-called husband and wife, this is illusion. And so she comes to understand that. So then, skipping one paragraph, elaborating on that just because of time. Forsaking Krishna's service, we maintain these bodies in the material world of birth and death, trapped in the bondage of Maya, mad with false ego. We have forgotten our Lord, and so we ensure our passage to hell. Your name is Vishnu-priya, however. Fulfill the real purport of Vishnu-priya and do not lament for what is false, remembering what I have said here. Cast your worries at a distance and always think of Krishna within your heart day and night. And then Lochandas continues, having conveyed all these divine instructions to Vishnu-priya Devi, the Supreme Lord, Sri Gaurasundara revealed to her his four-armed form, thus making her understand his absolute position. At that time, he told Vishnu-priya Devi, you see before you the Supreme Lord. Cast your mayic lamentation away. At this, Vishnu-priya Devi became joyful. Her grief and pain vanished, and her heart became blissful upon suddenly seeing the Lord's four-armed form. After hearing the instructions of the Lord and seeing his absolute form, Vishnu-priya cast off her bewilderment, but her mentality of taking the Lord as her husband was intact. At that point, she fell at the feet of the Lord and said, O Lord, please listen to my entreaty. Falling at your feet again and again, I implore you to accept my humble submission. I am certainly the lowest, having taken birth in this world of samsara. But you are my most dear Lord of life. This is my only wealth. Without you, I have nothing. Without your service, I will certainly go down. Saying this, Vishnupriya began loudly weeping. So she's gone from suddenly being joyful at seeing the Lord. Now she is weeping, sobbing and sobbing again and again in ever-increasing frenzy of sorrow. Seeing the affliction of someone so dear, the Lord bestowed his merciful glance upon Vishnupriya Devi, embracing her with his eyes and so giving her his mercy. At that time, the Lord said, "Listen, O Vishnupriya Devi, and give close attention to my answer to your words. I shall go here and there, but wherever I go, I shall still remain at your place. This truth I have spoken with great determination." Upon hearing the order of the Lord, Vishnupriya Devi could understand that the Lord is supremely independent. At that time, she said, "You must do what makes you happy. Let no one be an obstacle to your divine mission." Addressing the Lord in this way, Vishnupriya tearfully averted her eyes from the Lord's glance and fell silent. Thus went the conversation between the Lord and Vishnupriya, which is painful to hear. Lochandas Thakur says at the end, this is painful to hear, and we can appreciate this pain indeed. This is all written in the form of poetry, and as I understand, he wrote specifically with the idea that the individual episodes of his book would be sung. This would be material for Leela Kirtan of Mahaprabhu. So, Lochandas Thakur ki jai. Is there any comment or question on anything we have discussed? We have a microphone. Does this work in case someone... Yes, Prabhu. Microphone is here. Can someone...
Hare Krishna Maharaj. How do we understand this term wonderful? Because usually when we do something good for a Lord, let's say we have done some service, keeping aside all of us other works, we immediately get this pride and ego into existence because we think, yeah, we have done something really good for Lord. So how do we go about this term wonderful?
Okay. How to understand this word wonderful, considering the tendency that we have that if we do something nice, then immediately pride comes. Srila Prabhupada once said, there is one thing that we can be proud of. You know what that is? Huh? More specifically, he said, we can be proud of the instructions of our spiritual master. And of course, what is the general instruction? Serve Krishna. So if we see our, whatever it is, service, accomplishment that we do, in the context of fulfilling the instruction of the Guru, there is a place for a certain sort of pride. And I say certain sort because it's a pride which needs to be one which we are passing on to Guru and Krishna. So whatever honor is coming, whatever appreciation and so on and so forth, we're passing it on. And in that context, some pride is it's a healthy pride. Why? Because it's an impetus to do more service, to do something more wonderful. And I think we see this in Srila Prabhupada's service. So many times Srila Prabhupada would, in a sort of transcendental way, boast about the success of his movement. When guests would come, he would say things, all these American, European, Western boys and girls, they are engaging in this service, and I am not paying them. He would speak like that, or he would speak about how so many books are being produced and distributed, or sometimes he would speak about how much money is being collected. We are collecting 100,000 rupees every day. In those days, that was a lot of money. So a little bit it was boasting, but he was doing it all within this context of doing something wonderful under the direction of the previous acharyas. So I would say, I think here the key is making a distinction between healthy pride and unhealthy pride. The unhealthy pride is something which is drawing us away from service to Krishna and drawing us away from recognizing whatever we are doing, it's only by the grace of Guru and Krishna. And we are simply acting as instrument, as agent for them. Is that okay? Anything else? Anything about Daksha? Anything about tapasya? Anything about Lochandas? Anything about creation, birth? What else have we talked about? Anything about Srimad-Bhagavatam? Okay. So I wish you all a very wonderful day in doing wonderful service for the Lord today. We can also remember that from the perspective of the Lord, we are engaged in sincere service. Krishna sees that service. One of his 64 qualities is kritagnya, which Prabhupada translates as gratefulness. And so Krishna recognizes, he sees, this devotee. Actually, even if Krishna doesn't see, who sees? Srimati Radharani sees. Yeah, so that's very nice. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Premanande.
This section that you were reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, this one, which section?
This was Chaitanya Manga.
Oh, Chaitanya Manga.
Yeah, this was Lochandas. That's why I read it, because it's from Lochandas. It comes from the Sheshakanda.
Okay.
Hare